meeting. We have a couple of late apologies, so if you just relax for a couple of minutes, we will get started very shortly. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Transport Subcommittee meeting this morning. My name is Councillor Mish MacDonald. I'll be chairing us today. We have a lot on our agenda. Before we get into it, I want to acknowledge and thank those who have come in from the public to share their opinions and their perspectives and to speak to submissions. That's a really important part of making up decisions, because we read the reports, we go through all the technical information, but what you contribute adds lived experience and prioritisation for priority. So thank you very much for your time this morning. Right, I will open us up with a karakia and then we will be on our way. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, e hiaki ana te atukura, he teo, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei Māori ora. All right. Can we please note any apologies? We have Councillor Sarah Thompson, who is the Deputy for the subcommittee, who is joining us online this morning. And good morning, Sarah. We have apologies in from Deputy Mayor Jeff Taylor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's everybody. Okay. Confirmation of agenda. Can I please have a mover and a seconder for that our apologies be accepted? Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Thank you, Councillor Mead. All those in favour, can I have a show of hands? Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to the confirmation of the agenda. We are going to bring some items forward, so we have members of the public who are here to speak to Masters Ave, that item, and also the Peach Grove East Street. So we will bring those items out from the block and we will address those so our submitters can hear and see those proceedings. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to confirm our agenda? Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Thank you, Councillor Moroney. Do we have any declarations of interest that need to be declared this morning? We need to vote on the confirmation of the agenda first, before we move on, rushing it. Can I please have all those in favour of accepting the agenda as we have it? Show of hands. Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to the declarations of interest. Do we have any to declare this morning? Nope, doesn't look like we do, so thank you very much. That is all of the official housekeeping to get us started, let's move into public forum. So this morning we have 2 members of the public who are here to speak to us in public forum. We look forward to hearing your comments. If you would, where are we going to have everybody? At the back here. If you would like to join us up there, we will start with Mrs. Betty Clow. Did I say your name correctly? Oh, come over to the front, to the seat there. Thank you. So you will have 5 minutes to speak to us this morning. So if you would share your thoughts and perspectives, and if there's any time left of the 5 minutes, then our elected members will have the opportunity to ask you some questions.
Right.
Thank you very much.
For a kick-off, I've lived in the Hillcrest area for over 50 years. And as I said to Mesh, I'm sick of our rates going up and our money not being used in our area. Now, I'm talking here about the Masters Ave Medical Centre and the driveway out of it and the footpath. Just over 12 months ago, I was knocked by a car. I'm still having treatment on my knee. And the owner of it couldn't give a damn, so I got the Times involved and they did a story, but still nothing's been done. We've got one lot of dotted lines out on the road, on the way where people look to the right. And they can't see the traffic. Now, I had a meeting there with the council, the medical centre, and the guy who owns the property. And the medical centre said, oh no, it's customers' cars. And if they can't park there, they'll cancel their appointment. That's rubbish. It is workers' cars. Yesterday on purpose, I had an appointment. I photographed the cars when I got up there, came into town the bus, went back, photographed the cars, and they're still the same cars 2 hours later. And I know they are workers' cars. The cars do not stop. There's a stop sign to stop. They don't stop. And I said to the property guy, why don't you put a sign like they've got at all the rest homes, watch for pedestrians? I was in the middle of the driveway when I happened to glance and I suddenly saw her coming. She wasn't even looking. She was looking down the road and I just screamed. My hands were on her bonnet when I was hit. And all she said was mouth sorry and took off. What have I got here? I ended up with a split cartilage and badly damaged ligaments. So it wasn't just a minor thing. Now what? And another thing is our pedestrian crossing at the shops. We have shops both sides. A bus stop on the other side. We've asked for ages for lights. No. You put them down the road when less than 100 metres there's a blinking lights that they can walk over on. And I was told at that when I met with them that, 2027 we might be doing it. The lady in the physio part, she was nearly knocked over on that pedestrian crossing. It was the fact that she suddenly realised the car wasn't stopping. She was coming through and the car just took straight in front of her. So it is very dangerous and with shops both sides, it's used all the time. So please, can we please have something done up there? I think I might have just about covered everything. And the main thing is we need either more dotted lines so people can see. There was an 18-year-old driving a car on Masters Ave, got hit with a car coming out of there and pushed into a tree. Now, what speed was that car doing? And that poor kid's going to remember that. And the way it was hit, it must have been hit in the back door to push it into the tree. Not on, if it was the front door, the car wouldn't have gone into the tree. So can we please have something done? I hope I live long enough to see something done, put it that way. So it is bad. It is very, very bad. And you can walk up there any time of the day and the cars just go straight out. They don't stop at all out of there. So there was a guy in a wheelchair one time. He was behind me and I was in front and the same thing happened. If I hadn't stopped, he said, I'm lucky. He said, I thought about passing you. If I had passed you, he would have been hit, and that was later on. So I don't think you need any more. I think you understand, don't you? Either bring my rates down or do something. Spend our money. Well,
Thank
I'm paying
you.
over $5,000 in bloody rates now. So, yeah.
If I can just hold you for a little bit longer, we have a question from Councillor Thompson online. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Betty, for your presentation. I am just wondering, I've got a couple of questions. One is, can you confirm there has already been one car park taken away since your contact with council on near the entrance, and also whether the medical centre has since put in speed humps as was recommended by our council?
What was that she just asked?
So can you confirm, has the medical centre put in speed humps at the exit?
Oh, the speed hump is so big it's squashed down. It's about that wide and about that thick. It's not really a speed hump, it's just a little bit of plastic.
So it's,
It doesn't stop them. You can go. It's not. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a speed hump. It's just a bit of plastic.
Right.
And any big vehicles going over it just squash it right down.
Right. Okay. And there was one car park removed already?
Yep. That was removed after my accident. That got removed.
Okay. And the other question I had was, since this is about cars exiting, and presumably the car park is on the road side of the footpath, how does this, I just am interested in your thoughts on how removing another one would improve the safety situation.
Yeah, it won't improve how the way they come out of the driveway, will it? It'll improve their vision to see up the road towards Cambridge Road. See, all the way from Cambridge Road, even just past where the dentist is, there's cars parked, and then right in front of the medical centre, there's cars parked all the way along there, and they say they can't see it. You've taken out one right at the bottom, which doesn't give enough vision. But if they were to stop, and there were two, they talked about taking out two more, they would see the cars. On the left-hand side, there's no parking at all because you've got the melons out around the trees, and they've got clear vision, but it's on the right-hand side, there is not clear vision.
Okay,
The council should go up into the drive in there.
If I can just thank you there. We are out of time, so thank you very much for your comprehensive answers to Councillor Thompson's questions. We don't have time for any more questions.
Good.
Thank you very much.
I will wait and see what happens.
Thank you. Can I please, you can if you want, or you can stay, you can leave from there, but if you want to stay in the meeting.
Is there anybody else talking on the master's there or not?
No.
No, so I'll leave it to.
Okay. Okay. Okay, yep, thank you. All right, moving on to our East Street improvements. Our verbal submitters, can I please invite Tony Dixon up to speak to us? Similar time frame, if you could take up to 5 minutes, and any time that you don't use with your comments, we will leave for our elected members to ask questions.
I speak to the East Street Peach Grove Road intersection submissions. The only issue with this intersection is for drivers turning right out of East Street and going south on Peach Grove Road. The speed of traffic approaching along Peach Grove Road and the limited vision to the right, partly caused by a high wall at the corner property, are the principal hazards. None of the options presented address that problem. Your planner's solution to the situation is to eliminate the problem entirely, i.e. to close East Street off to all traffic or to let them turn left only. They're using their well-practiced, perfected Delphi approach. No consideration has been given to a roundabout at this intersection. However, as anyone monitoring this intersection will have observed, including, I hope, your planners, there is a roundabout already in place, as shown in the lower diagram of the flyer. Drivers turning out of East Street wanting to turn right, turn left instead, proceed about 50 metres and do a U-turn at the entrance of Bailey Avenue to their right. Many mounting the curb in the process and then head south past the intersection, which is adding to that problem. Here it is, the original peanut roundabout. I think you've actually used that for plans in other parts of the city. Even people making submissions admit that they turn left and use the entrance to Bailey Avenue as a turning circle to go to Woolworths and Mitre 10. I live in Bailey Avenue, not mentioned on the list of streets in the submissions. I wonder why. Again, your Delphi approach, discourage or eliminate entirely any alternative view to that which they want to push. So I am frustrated, A, by U-turners wanting to, when I want to exit the street, but also, like most people in my street, I use East Street to get to town. See the top diagram on the flyer? Closing East Street would mean I have either to turn left and head to Tiarawa Street and join the traffic there, or to turn right to Five Crossroads and thence to town along Boundary Road. Both busy roads, exactly what your planners want, frustrated drivers in heavy traffic. There is plenty of room at the roundabout. It does not need to take an enormous pancake stretching all across the road. A small beacon-like structure about 1 to 2 metres wide with chevrons will suffice and would solve the problem that we have. I advise you to reject all the current options and go back to the drawing board for an effective solution to the recognised problem. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Tony. Do we have any questions from our elected members? Oh, we have a question from Councillor Thompson online. Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Tony, for your submission. Do you think that by putting a roundabout so are you suggesting, firstly, we put a roundabout at the intersection of East Street and Peach Grove?
Yep.
And with that, do you think that it would encourage more drivers to drive down East Street and therefore would need to go out if we were to propose this and then reconsult, given it would change traffic behaviour again?
I don't think it would encourage more people to go into East Street. Getting into East Street is not a major problem for me from Bailey Avenue or even people crossing East Street. I don't think but it would in fact stop that peanut roundabout, that one where they're coming out of East Street and going up and down that 50 metres between East Street and Bailey Avenue, because then they would be able to turn right with confidence because they could clearly see the traffic coming along Peach Grove Road, which would have to slow down as they approached the roundabout.
Have you witnessed any, any actual safety issues from people using Bailey Avenue to turn?
Well, I imagine the suspension is pretty racked by the number of times they mount the curve going around there. And yes, there are times I have people that I've been coming out of Bailey Avenue, they've been doing a U-turn, and their U-turn meant that their car was directly pointing into the side of my car, and the driver's waving there saying, "Get out the way." I'm saying yes. And that has actually held up traffic entering Bailey Avenue behind them. And that has sometimes led to traffic on the main road being held up too, but not a serious accident as such.
Thank you.
Final question.
Oh, Sarah,
with
sorry,
leave-
Councillor
you're out of
Thompson.
time?
We are
Okay.
out of time, so
All right.
that will wrap our questions for Tony. Thank you for sharing your experience of those intersections. I will now invite Lauren. Lauren Tiffany is joining us online. Good morning, Lauren.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa.
Welcome to the Transport Subcommittee. We are looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us, and you have 5 minutes to speak. And what you don't use of the 5 minutes, then elected members may have some questions for you.
Okay, fantastic. So I apologise, first of all, I've only just joined this meeting and I wasn't actually planning to join, or I didn't really have anything planned. So could you please just let me know what exactly I should let you know? Do I need to just speak about what my submission was, or?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so outside of my car park, outside of my home at Fortikāriere Ave, there's a car park which is like an extended car park, and it's like a 1.5 space car park. On either side of that car park, there's 2 driveways, and we have quite a narrow road. So people have started parking 2 cars, which ends up blocking both my driveway and my neighbour's driveway, and we're unable to get out safely. We also can't, it sounds like a little issue, but when we're pulling out, you can't see safely on the right-hand side. So if anyone's coming, you kind of just have to chance it and pull out. I've spoken to the people that have been parking there, because it's the same people. I think I've spoken to them maybe 4 times. Nothing's been done. So I approached the council multiple times over 5 years, and last year I spoke with a gentleman that has decided to take it to where it's at now. And I just really appreciate something to be done about it. There was some discussion about putting the yellow lines in. Honestly, I don't really know that much about parking, so yeah, that's basically my submission. I prefer to answer questions because I kind of don't know how to present this.
Thank you, Lauren. It's really good to hear what you have shared. And do I have any questions from elected members? Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Lauren. And no, you presented really clearly. It was just clarification. Did you say it was to Kāriere Ave? What
That's
number
right.
is it? So we can make sure we know which one you...
It's outside of Fortikāriere Avenue.
Okay.
We actually have quite a lot of issues at Kāriere Avenue with parking on the footpath, parking, if anybody was trying to go down on a wheelchair or on a pram, they'd have to walk on the road. So there's quite a lot of issues with the parking there, but this is just my specific issue.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much for presenting. It's helpful.
I'll do my best.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? No, thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Lauren. I think we've all read the report and appreciate hearing firsthand what it's like to live in that situation. So we will be looking at that a little bit later on, but you will be able to find out the result of that decision a little bit later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, sorry, Councillor Thompson, is your hand up because you still have another question? No. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. We are going to hear from our next submitters, who are Anna and Chris Fairley. Welcome, Anna. Welcome, Chris. Speaking to your submission on Peach Grove and East Street.
The slide shows, oh, it's good. Okay, so how do we manage the slideshow?
When you'd like the slides changed, we can do that for you.
Yep, thank you. You're sitting in traffic, you notice weeds growing on the traffic island next to you. Maybe it's irritating, maybe you think it will soon all be concreted over anyway. There's a reason those weeds are there, and I bet you don't know the full story. There's no mention of planting in the designs shared on the consultation document. This to us seems symptomatic of a much larger problem. We know that vast sums have been budgeted to concrete over traffic islands in Hamilton over the next 3 years. Chris has spent the last 40 years designing and caring for gardens, privately and for the Hamilton City Council, including on traffic islands, but predominantly in the Hamilton Gardens. We invite you to consider these policies and decisions that underpin designing traffic islands without planting. This is the chain of events. A manager who decided to hand the maintenance of traffic islands to contractors rather than use in-house trained gardeners. A contractor who is able to keep the contract despite not upholding the previous standards, and who, in fact, makes more profit by doing less and without trained or skilled gardeners. Topsoil transferred from farmland via new subdivisions which are contaminated with weed seeds. Establishment of gardens which often contain plants unfit for the space, designed by people without knowledge or vested interest in whether the plants will succeed. Ineffective use of mulch due to lack of knowledge and experience in how to use it successfully. Work being scheduled by the day, week and month rather than time to suit the weather, season and plant growth. This can lead to practices such as spraying just before the rain and plants being left long enough to set seed. The result is a factory-style approach to work that does not reflect the practical demands of gardening. It suits managers prioritising administrative convenience. When the weed seeds inevitably start growing, using a weed eater to spread these seeds is the final nail in the coffin for having living gardens. So when council is told the gardens aren't working, it's easy to be convinced. We have watched in real time this cycle of failure along Wairere Drive. We recognise that this problem occurs across the country to varying degrees, partly because of neglect by the New Zealand Transport Agency. However, understanding the issue gives us power to address it. Decisions that can seem minor can have significant wider consequences. You may wonder whether this matters in the larger scheme of things. The evidence, including data collected by the Hamilton City Council, shows that it does. Hamilton is suffering from the effects of urban heat islands. We're losing canopy, which adds to heating up of the city. The Council collects this data, which shows us that living near the university as we do, we have up to 5 degrees increase in temperature in the summer. A quick lesson in mulch. Chris introduced arbor mulch to Hamilton Public Gardens in the early 2000s. It works, but only to spec. Bare soil produces 322 weeds per square metre per year. Properly mulched soil produces around 12 weeds per square metre per year. The difference is the depth, at least 75 millimetres of mulch. Mulch sprinkled lightly for cosmetic effects delivers none of this benefit. The council has started caring about the effect of policy, expecting developers to replace trees which are cut down illegally, but it doesn't go far enough to mitigate the problems we are seeing. When vegetation is removed and hard surfaces expand, existing heat problems are intensified. Protecting planting and tree cover should therefore be treated as essential urban infrastructure, not an optional expense. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Can I open up for any questions from elected members? Looks like your message has been received clearly. Oh, no, we do have a question.
Me again.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you so much. I'm just interested in the. Do you see the model of who's actually doing this work being a critical part of addressing what you've raised, or
Absolutely.
do you think?
Absolutely.
The standard has gone down massively since it's gone out to contract, because it's the whole process involves doing less by the contractor, because they only make money when they don't fulfil the contract. That you can put in as many KPIs as you like, but their whole profit motive is to do the minimum, and so you get the minimum amount of work done. That they come up with every excuse, like the weather or the the whatever, but the whole function is they turn it into a factory thing because they manage it like it's a. But the gardens don't work like that. They're a growing thing. You have to have a different philosophy, and that is how you do it. I worked with the people who were doing the traffic islands there. They did care, though they were a bit grumpy about it. And the reason it was taken away is because it was a fractious contract for the City Parks unit manager, and he just wanted to get rid of it. And so that was easy.
Chris, I'm going to wrap
thank
it
you.
there because we are out of time. But thank you very much, Anna and Chris, for coming and speaking to your submission this morning. Can I please invite Roger to come and speak to us? Good morning, Roger. Thanks for coming in. In case you didn't catch from other submitters that you will have 5 minutes to speak, and if there's any time that you haven't used with your comments in the 5 minutes, then we will open that for elected members to ask questions.
Okay. Well, I live in East Street, and I live down East Street, and I put in a submission for option 2 for East Street and Peach Grove Road, and the options are for turning left out of East Street and turning left into East Street on Peach Grove, which is far more safer than having to turn. At the moment, you can turn right into Peach Grove or go straight across, which is a bit more dangerous because there's more traffic on Peach Grove now, and it'd be far more safer to do that, and I can just go round the block and come in, and if I need to go anywhere, I just turn left and go where I have to go. It's probably the easiest and the safest way to travel. And one of the options on the other side of East Street is to go straight across, but I think one of the options is to close that option off, so you can only turn left out of East Street on the other side to go into Peach Grove, and if you turn the other way, you're turning right, and you've got a bend on the right and you can't see the traffic coming. So it'd be safer to just turn left and right into.
Thank you. We still have a couple of minutes. Do we have any questions from elected members? Councillor Moroney.
Hi, Roger. Thank you for your submission. Did you, you may have heard the previous submitter on this talk about the idea of a roundabout at the end of East Street. Have you got any views on that, or do you prefer option 2?
If you have a roundabout there, you'll have to make it wider because because you get trucks coming down and they have to turn and that. And it's probably safer not to put a roundabout in and just keep the left turn and the left turn in and not go straight across, which is far safer, and there'd be less accidents because there's the level crossing further up, just 100 metres further down, and if traffic builds up there, and so I think it'd be safer just to do.
Thank you. And do you drive? You
Yes.
drive around this neighbourhood. So if you're turning left and under option 2, and you really want to go, you want to eventually go right. What's your route going to be to get you on the right path?
Well, I go down Peach Grove and turn left at the right at the lights, go down past the go down and go up while we drive and go that way,
Okay.
or just turn right at the lights and go round that way, which is it's a bit longer, but it's safer to do it that way.
Yeah, great. Okay. No, thank you. It's really useful just to get some kind of real-life examples of how people would treat that option.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's great.
Thank you, Councillor Moroney. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. Roger, you mentioned trucks on East Street.
Yeah.
Is it common for trucks to use East Street as getting to and from Brooklyn Road? And if so, are you aware of trucks wanting to make it a right-hand exit out of East Street onto Beach Road?
Well, the only trucks at the moment go down there are the refuse trucks.
Right.
And the green waste.
Yeah.
But in probably another couple of months, there's a subdivision going at the top of East Street.
Yes.
And there'd be more trucks coming in and out there. And my thought is, with trucks coming in and out, there'd be lots of debris on the road from mud and that.
Yeah.
So it probably needs to look at that to make sure the roads get clean.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Appreciate your clarity on your experience of living there. I will invite you to return to the public stand, and we have one more person who will be presenting to us this morning, and that's Carla Shaler, who is joining us on Zoom. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Mayor and councillors. You can hear me okay?
We can. You have 5 minutes to speak, and if there's any time that you don't use, we'll ask questions.
Okay, brilliant. And also good morning, Transport Subcommittee. Thank you for allowing me to present my submission today. My name is Carla Shaler, and I'm a local living in Short Street and cycle, drive and walk Pearsons Street, Daisy Street, Peach Grove Road and East Street regularly since 1998. We've seen many changes in the area, including in-building and increase in number of cars, both driving and parking. Generally, one house or apartment could have 2 to 3 cars. What do we want for this area is a safe exit and entrance at the 3 ends of East Street. So this is Brooklyn and Peach Grove Road. What are the objectives? To keep flow of traffic, avoid congestion and keep all road users and pedestrians safe, including Southall School and Early Childhood Care Centre on Daisy Street. What else has been built opposite East Street? A new high-density apartment area. How many walkers, cyclists and drivers will there be? They will have the same problem exiting and entering their part of East Street onto Peach Grove Road. Thus, we need to address all ends of East Street. East Street blind corner is a real safety defect, and 115 of the 165 submitters who expressed a preference supported changing the intersection in some form. I would urge the committee not to settle for the sign-based U-turn ban, option 3, restrictions like that depend on driver compliance, invite U-turn behaviour submitters warned about, and leave the underlying conflict in place. Options 1 and 2 removes it permanently. But I ask, though, that the committee treat this as a corridor issue, not a single corner. Daisy Street, the next street along Peach Grove, appears from a regular local observation to have the same blind corner sightline problem, and that is the natural first destination for traffic displaced by an East Street closure. Closing East Street without looking at Daisy Street risks shifting the same U-turn risk 1 street along onto a higher volumes than it carries today. Daisy Street exit is within 10 metres of Southall primary school entry exit drop-off point and an early child care centre on Daisy Street. I therefore ask that the committee assess the Daisy Street Peach Grove Road intersection against the same sightline and crash criteria applied to East Street and report back with options, including applying the same treatment and monitor volumes and turning movements on Daisy Street. We did notice that when the vehicle surveillance on Daisy and Pearson's was done earlier this year, it was actually done during the school holidays, which would not show a true reflection of traffic. Option 4, keep existing layout. If this is the only option, then I would choose this one. It keeps traffic away from their school and early childhood centre. We need to keep the children safe. But there are further options that were not considered. A roundabout or traffic lights. Both would benefit the new apartment building complex and entrance and exit into both ends of East Street from Peach Grove Road. It will be safer for all flows of traffic. A roundabout makes right turns safer for both East Street exits onto Peach Grove Road. Safety physics show a standard 8 points instead of 32 with crossroads, thus removing the 2 crash types behind most intersection deaths and serious injuries. The traffic flow also generally slows down at a roundabout to 25 to 40 kilometres, thus making most crash low speed. A roundabout manages traffic flow and will cope well with increased demand when the new apartments are built on the opposite corner. A roundabout is designed for traffic projected 10 or more years ahead, not just today's volumes. A roundabout physically slows traffic, so it can double as a gateway into 5 crossroads or going south towards the railway line by Countdown. As stated by Council, a single lane roundabout handles up to roughly 20,000 to 25,000 entering vehicles. There's plenty of road area for either. The roundabout would keep traffic flowing. For the $1.3 million for closure of East Street, this money could be utilised on a roundabout. Therefore, my recommendation would be for this council to consider a roundabout on East Street, Peach Grove Road intersection, thus keeping traffic flowing safely and not push the problem further along Peach Grove Road to Daisy Street and, as previous submitter said, Bailey Street. Thus, this is support for his proposal for a roundabout that fixes the problem than rather relocating it. On this East Street intersection, at the other end on Brooklyn Road, please don't change the layout. There was a design for cyclists and pedestrians. I bike to work from Short Street up Brooklyn and into town daily.
Excuse me, Carla.
Yes?
Sorry, the bell has gone, so your time is finished. Do you have anything last that you would like to wrap up with? Leave us with a lasting thought.
Just don't change the other end, save your money.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your feedback and your thoughts this morning. So that brings us to the end of the public forum and submitters. So we will move on to item 7, where the substantive nature of these items will be covered. Not item 6. Thank you very much again to those who have been in to speak to us. We will look forward to sharing the outcomes of those later on. We're actually going to move to item number 8. We will leave item number 7 till a little bit later, but item 8 covers the substantive nature of what we have listened to in the public forum and submissions. So if we can invite Martin and Kirsty up to speak, to present this. Before we get into looking at the substantive nature of the traffic improvements report. I just have one slight adjustment to make in terms of our decision-making today. So the Peach Grove and East Street, which we have just heard a number of submissions for, needs to be moved back up to city delivery because in February 2026, option 1 was approved subject to positive public consultation. So given the nature of the consultation results, that now needs to go back to city delivery. So it's not something that we're going to determine of the bylaws today. It will go back to city delivery for a substantive decision.
This question about that, Chair. So in terms of the points that have been made by submitters today, how will that information be made available to the City Delivery Committee, or will people have an opportunity to do verbal submissions again for that hui?
Thank you. I wondered the same thing myself. If I can ask governance for some advice on that.
So through the Chair, I can answer that one. So the reports are being prepared for the next City Delivery Committee as we speak. That is for 1 September. What we'll do is we'll take all of these submissions that we have heard and add them into that report, so you can take anything that we've heard in there will be covered off.
Okay. Will there also be an opportunity, is my mic working? Yeah. Will there also be an opportunity for people to do a verbal submission on this issue before that committee as well? Because it's on the agenda?
Yeah, so through the Chair, that would be normal process, yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that's... Oh, Councillor Mead, you had a question?
Just a question from today from the submitters. Is there a process where we as councillors can feed back into what we've heard today for what we're seeing in front of us before it goes back to the City Delivery Committee?
As I understand it, no, that the information that has been collected from the verbal submissions today will be collected and summarised in the report that then gets presented to City Delivery on the 1st of September. And if the public would like to come and speak to that meeting, then they can do so through public forum.
My question was whether we can add anything to it.
No, you can add to it when it comes up in City Delivery.
So through the Chair, if I may add, it would be the normal process that we run through for all of the committees, where you get the agenda, you can have a look at those and pose questions to the Chair, and they come back to staff so they can get answered in time.
The reason that we are not going to do that today is because we're not actually making the decision today. So I would prefer to save that discussion for the committee that will be making that decision. Right. Moving on to item number 8. Oh, we have another question. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. Conveniently starting a coughing fit. My question was somewhat in a similar vein to Councillor Graham's, and it was just we had a number of quite specific issues raised by submitters in regard to the project, and I'm wondering if it would be helpful if, even if it's through our debate or something, that we just, or staff could undertake to address those specific issues that in the report, so the information's already there, rather than, pulling it together once the agenda's out. For example, the U-turns on Bailey Ave, the concern around or the questions around the roundabout or traffic lights and things, just having those various things addressed in the report.
So through the Chair, absolutely what we can do is we've been here listening to all of those submissions. We've taken notes. We'll answer each of those through the report process. And if we do miss any, there is an opportunity for you to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully you can compare your notes to the report that comes out, and if there are any gaps, that would be a good time to address them. Thank you for your question, Councillor Thompson. Right, item number 8. My original plan was to bring masters out as a separate item, so that our submitter could hear the discussion, but she has gone, so I think we'll just work through that sequentially if that's okay with everybody. So the first couple in item number 8, actually let's just run through it bit by bit because there aren't that many pieces in there. And if there are areas that people want to stop and ask questions, then we can block it that way. So hand the time over to Martin and Kirsty.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, I think you're familiar with this process by now. I mean, there's quite a bit in the report around restrictions. So a lot of these things that come up are through safety reviews, operational assessments, customer requests, development projects and transport improvement projects. There's a real mixed bag in the report for you to have a look at today. So a lot of probably the most common things in that report are probably customer requests that we receive and investigate and then propose restrictions for. Yep.
Thank you. Let's go through the report up to Masters Ave. So can I invite any questions from our elected members on anything up to Masters Ave, including Masters Ave? We're starting on page 29 with at the top. So anything from there through to the end of Masters Ave, I will invite questions for now. Councillor Mead.
I have a number as we go through of questions depending on, and I'll also give you the page number as well, if that's all right. We're not doing anything on Peachgrove East Street anymore, is that correct?
No, so that entire conversation will be moved to City Delivery. So save your questions for there.
Okay. Page 28, note 10, the car park changes on Hinimoa Park are now funded from Parks and Reserves. Do we know how much this will cost, and is this being added to the $2.2 million cost of that park already given to Mena Lagoima?
Can I just interrupt you for a minute there? That's a little bit further down.
Page 28, note 10.
I've got it as page 41, note number 53.
It's also appearing there again a second time. I know some of these I'll need to come back with, but at the moment I'm just looking at the transfer of that cost from transport to parks, and parks have given us a budget already.
Sorry, just in terms of the when and the where are you referring to?
Page 28, note 10.
Oh, okay, I see. Can we hold that question until we get to Hinimoa Park a little bit further down in the agenda?
That's okay. It's just that part of the thing I found last night with the agenda is things appearing multiple times all the way through the minutes and trying to figure out why they're not all together.
Thank you. Good point made. Can I,
Next point.
just 1 minute, raise a staff action, or how can we resolve that? Because I've had a similar concern myself where we have parts of decisions or parts of pieces that are across multiple parts of the agenda. Is there a way that we can put them together in the agenda going forward so we can wrap all the questions together?
Through the chair, we can certainly have a look at that for you. Yeah, make it a little bit more clearer in the report writing. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Back to Masters Ave, up to that bookend. Are there any questions up to that point? Okay.
Page 29, Manihi Drive. This seems to be a high development area and high volumes of contractors and staff parking cars there. When the development finished, will this parking restriction still be necessary?
Through the chair, we believe so, with the level of development in that area. In some areas there is a lack of probably off-street parking that we're sort of seeing that residential cars are spilling out onto the streets in some of these newer areas. So we believe, because it's around an intersection and a corner for sight lines and safety, that we'll still need those restrictions at that location. We can always review. I mean, we're constantly reviewing what's out there, but we can always review this one later down the track.
I see Marjorie Field Muse has been removed, that's cool. Page 39, High Street in Frankton, great result, good outcome, I think that's a good decision. Marjorie Field Muse has been removed.
Muse has been removed.
Next one's page 39, High Street.
Okay. Can we just go up to page 33, which is Masters?
Okay.
Are there any questions about Masters? We had a submission this morning. Councillor Mead, do you have a question?
Masters Ave, it seems, can I just have clarification that we've removed a car park? And is the speed bump in the car park sufficient for what you want to achieve?
Through the chair, yes, we carried out a safety assessment at the site. So you're correct, one car park was removed earlier. We're proposing that a further car park is removed, and the speed bump is in place. And I believe there's a stop sign as well in place there as well. I think all has been done by the medical centre to try and improve safety at that access. Obviously, we've got to just do our bit now, remove another car park, and we feel the visibility will be much better coming out of the car park. But I suppose another point is anyone using that area, whether they're pedestrian, cyclist or vehicle driver, should take care. Yeah. It's busy.
If the removal of this car park doesn't work, are we going to end up taking more car parks?
We don't anticipate.
Is there a stop line somewhere?
Yeah, we don't anticipate it, to be honest with you. It's unusual for us to actually remove more than one car park in this situation.
Thank you, Martin.
Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. Martin, on option 2, where there is restrictions on parking time, P60s, who would police that? How often would it be policed, so would it be effective?
It's probably more of a deterrent. I mean, these sorts of outlying areas where we've got time limits are generally only policed on complaints, because we just don't have the staff resources to get out there as often as we'd like. If we were to go out there, it would be in the licence plate recognition vehicle, and you know, it will do a round and then come back later and do another round. But that would be complaint driven rather than on a regular basis.
Yeah. So is there an advantage? So the purpose of that is to stop workers parking there all day?
That's correct, to give other people maybe the opportunity to park there, but we've not really had a complaint about workers parking there as such. Yeah. So it's something that the residents asked us to consider when we met them on site before we started the consultation process.
Right. And the cost to do that is just some signs and some paint?
Yes, relatively cheap exercise, relatively.
So if that was done, would that help the medical centre if we lost a car park but they're getting better turnover of patients?
I think the medical centre are actually comfortable with option 1.
Yeah.
That's their preference.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So our submitter this morning, she wanted to add a sign that pedestrians crossing. So there's a stop sign there. Is the stop sign that's there within clear eye view as you are exiting, or is it more visible as you're coming up to the exit, but it's not there in your face when you are actually exiting?
I believe it's actually at the exit point as you approach the speed hump. Yeah, so it's in a good eye line for drivers as they approach the exit.
Thank you. And so in your technical assessment, the speed bump is doing its job,
Yes,
the stop sign is doing its job.
yes.
And we are looking at removing another car park, which has no objection from the businesses being
No.
removed.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next block. And let's go up into the end of Hinimau Park, which starts at item number 3, but let's go through to the end of that one. Do we have any questions? Councillor Mead.
We're the right numbers now. Number 39. Page 39, High Street. I think that's a great outcome, putting the parking in there. That's a good outcome. Well done. Sorry, I need to drop back a page. I've gone back to front. Page 38, Parkside Drive. We've got feedback from homes 4 and 6, nothing from homes 1, 2 and 3, which are probably more affected, and an objection from number 5 on Te Ngātu Drive, who's up at the road and doesn't think it's necessary. So we've got 3 bits of feedback, but none from the houses right on the corner. Were they approached, or what do we sit with that?
Yeah, all the houses in that area were approached. So our view is that, parking close to an intersection of that type creates safety issues, visibility issues. So we are relatively comfortable supporting that proposal that actually keeps parking away from that intersection and improves visibility and safety.
And the people on the corners are reasonably comfortable with that?
Yeah, so they're all
even
consulted. Yeah, they had an opportunity to feedback, yeah.
Page 39, Te Karere. Great result. I think that's a good idea. The parks aren't big enough for 2 cars, they're big enough for 1, so that's a really good, simple option, eh?
Yeah, look, through the chair, we're just going to try that as a bit of a trial site because the way developments are rolling out through Hamilton at the moment, there's similar situations across a lot of subdivisions. So this one, we'll just see how it goes because it might be a sort of something that we could end up putting into a standard specification for these developments.
Are we stopping short of Hinimau Park, or this include Hinimau?
This includes Hinimau.
Hinimau Park, it's P180 for 2, is that 2 hours free parking? Is that 3 hours paid parking? Is the 3rd hour free? And how will we go about enforcing that?
So it is time limited, there's no charge. So it's 3 hours, that's your max. It's really there to support the new recreational facility that's going in there. So people coming to the site can easily find a car park to park, take their family into the playground area. So that's what it's there for. We will enforce it through our standard enforcement regime. It's pretty close to the central city, so we'll take either the licence plate recognition vehicle through there, or one of our parking officers will pick it up on their beat.
Will they do that via their app or the machine there to put their 2 hours free in or their 3 hours free in? Will that be a function of how they do it?
No, I mean, we're treating it like a lot of our other parks and reserves area where the time limits are there just to, I suppose, encourage turnover and discourage commuter parking all day. The time limit will actually stop commuters parking there all day. They won't want to take the risk.
Yeah, that's right. I was just thinking with the app, you get an alert on your phone to say time's up.
Yeah, it's something we can have a look at, whether we include it into the app, but at the moment we hadn't planned to do that.
Okay. Page 4, yeah. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who has questions up to that point? Okay, I have a question. So looking at the Hinimau car park, do we have a cost for how much that will cost?
We don't. The parks and reserves are picking up the costs of the works in there, and that includes the signs and the lines for the project. So we will obviously organise the work on their behalf, but it's budgeted for out of their project.
Thank you. So I'm trying to understand the principle of we're asked to approve something here, but the costs are being taken care of elsewhere.
Yeah. It's budgeted for from their budgets, that's what I'm told. We're just doing the technical stuff and we'll arrange the markings and signs when the appropriate time comes, because it's obviously closed off at the moment as a car park while the development goes on.
Thank you. That makes sense. I guess what I'm probing here is if a decision is required here, but the funding comes from elsewhere, then I think there would be benefit in pulling information about the funding here, so where the decision is made, we have a sense of what we're approving.
Yep.
Yeah, so through the chair, we can take that on board and have discussions with those other committee exec leaders in that space and make sure that that does happen.
Thank you.
And if you would like to have a cost, I can find that out and pass that on to you.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's move through to up to and including Ellison and Hibiscus Street. Do you have any questions up to that point, including Ellison and Hibiscus? Councillor Mead.
Page 44, if we can. The intersection built out from Hibiscus Ave onto a narrowed Ellison Street may cause issues. And I know most of the businesses on Ellison Street will not let staff use their customer car parks at all, and they're forced onto the street. Again, I know it comes back to speed on the street, and it's more about saying we're narrowing the road or doing this to control speed, and I don't think that's going to control speed. The other question I've got is we are widening the footpath, and in between the widening of the footpath, we're putting a grass verge back in. Who's going to mow it? Why would it not be sensible just to make the footpath wider and at that stage? I think there's a small problem with making it narrower, skinnier, and doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, why are we putting a mowing strip in when we could do a wider footpath? And the other one is the businesses who won't allow their staff to park on-site, who have to park off-site, will this affect them at all? And I don't think, and my last one is how do we know narrowing it or reduce speed?
Crikey, there's a lot to unpack on that one. Okay, so the footpath is currently in a terrible condition. Believe it floods quite a bit, Mrs. Denton, is that correct? It sits in a bit of a dip. So the plan is to obviously pull it out into a rear-lined, curb-line carriageway, as you can see from the drawing, and remove that issue with trees, roots, and flooding. The best thing is obviously then to turn that back into a permeable surface, so the water that actually ponds there at the moment can actually drain away properly. Regarding the speed, from experience, if you narrow a carriageway up and have parking either side, that tends to adjust people's behaviour and reduce speed to safer levels. Regarding the build-out on the corner of Allison and Hibiscus, I suppose for that, looking at it just from the drawing, that's there to improve that crossing accessibility for people walking in the area, and then just to formalise all the parking that actually is a bit haphazard down there as well by marking out the spaces. And you find generally when you mark out spaces, you can actually achieve a better result with regards to the parking. There's no wasted space. I'm not sure if I've answered all your questions, Councillor Mead, but if I haven't, Mrs. Denton may be able to.
And the last one is just on the back of that, what's the expected cost of this? Where do I find that?
So the work is fairly much cost neutral because the renewals going through there was going to have to rebuild a footpath anyway, and was going to put in new curb and channel. So that's why we've taken the opportunity to do this work now. So we're basically relocating the curb line, we're ending up with less road pavement that we need to do work on as a result. So it's basically a zero cost outcome.
Nothing ever costs nothing. What's the cost of doing the renewal?
Oh, sorry, I don't know the cost of doing renewal, but that was already a planned project. So, sorry, I don't have that to hand.
Perhaps we could have a staff action to check with renewals and bring that cost back to elected members.
Yeah, through the chair, we can have a look at those costs for the renewals in that space and put it through executive update.
That would be excellent, thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Mead? Okay.
Not at the moment.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I was just, sorry, this is getting into the weeds. Councillor Graham was talking about a grass berm, but you know, people love to park all over anything that they can. So this is getting built out. I assume thoughts given to how we discourage people from just parking on the build out anyway?
Through the chair, the fact that the footpath is going to be adjacent to the carriageway should hopefully be deterrent enough for people trying to, and there will be a line of parked cars there as well to stop people getting onto the footpath and then onto the berm. So, but it's something that we need to monitor, you know, when we do these things, because you're right, Councillor, that berm parking is a bit of a problem right across the city.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm just looking at it. I'm assuming the purple part is where the footpath goes and the hashed part is grass?
So the hatch, thank you, Martin. The hatch part on the build out on the corner of Hibiscus and Allison will be concrete.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's all going to be footpath then?
Effectively, yes. Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
The cut down design will be the blue area. So that will be where we would expect pedestrians to walk.
Right, okay. Okay, right. Well, anyway, I'm just noting that on a sports day and stuff, people will park on that if we don't put anything to discourage it. Even a couple of bollards or something. I'll leave it with you guys, but it would be great to take an action just to look at that, because otherwise people will park there, then it will create an issue with sightlines and everything, because we've seen the kind of behaviour that happens in other parts of the city.
Yep. We can monitor that, yes.
Yeah. Are we able to do something to prevent it to start with, though? Given it costs more to go back, is just kind of my...
Yeah, through the chair, we'll take that action away and we'll talk to the people that are progressing this project.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving... Oh, sorry. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. So on Hibiscus Avenue, we have the hatched area curving down towards the footpath across the bottom of one of the car parks. Would we lose the car park as a result of that?
No.
Okay.
Just
Thank
making
you.
sure I was looking at the same place.
You. Okay, let's move on to the next block. Up to, we remember that Peach Grove East, we don't need to deal with today. But let's move the next block up to and including Pine Ave on page 51. Including Pine Ave. So Pine Ave starts at 51, but for our discussion, let's include Pine Ave in its entirety. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Does this include the Brooklyn Road East Street part. I think I saw, or not. Is that later? Oh, sorry, no, that's next. Okay. It was just then Pine Ave. So I understand, Chair, that you have included in a motion that we'll touch base again with emergency services to ensure that they're comfortable with the final design after noting that we've looked at the issues they've raised but haven't closed the loop.
Thank you. Yes, I have requested that that be included expressly in the motion, that we will deal with at the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions up to that point? Councillor Mead.
Just a question on the Pine Ave. Is that we're going to deal with Pine Ave totally separately later on? All questions, or that just debate?
Ask your questions now, we can look at the motions later.
Just a question on Pine Ave. When we initially talked about it some while ago, we were going to look at the options of not using the curb build-outs and the water restrictions and try and discuss potentially going to a larger scoop drain so the water could still go through. But I'd noticed over the last, nothing's changed in scope at all. Were they discussed, considered, or even looked at?
Through the chair, look, I'm not in the detail of this project, but what I would say is currently we're still really dealing with a concept. We haven't got to the detailed design yet. So that will come, those decisions and things that to look at will come a bit later on. Is that correct, Mrs. Denton? Or?
That's correct.
That's correct, yeah. So I think what we're looking for today through this meeting is your agreement to actually approve the parking restrictions that are shown on the design. The actual detailed design of the project will be worked on separately. I don't know if that's clear or not.
Second question on that as well. The owner of 58A Pine Ave raised a number of concerns about a tree that's going to be in front of his driveway that he's not going to be able to access, and we looked at options of moving that pedestrian crossing and doing other things. Is the option, I know we've got to plant a tree, is the option to take the tree out so it actually fixes a ratepayer's problem? Would be the simple option.
We've done a lot of work looking at that and worked with the Parks team. At this stage, the recommendation is that the tree remains and that the crossing location is one that the school and church are happy with. So it is a balancing act. It is a tight environment to try and fit something in, but the removal of the tree is not seen as desirable.
So how do we measure and manage the concerns of the ratepayer, or is it?
I think we've noted their concerns. We've gone away and done some work, and we are feeding back to them the results of that investigation. And at this stage, our recommendation is for the crossing to stay where it is and to leave the tree in place.
If I can just follow up on that question. So we are weighing up the value of preserving mature Japanese maples and preserving the sight lines that are going to work best for the school to maximise the safety for the children. And we are effectively prioritising trees over accessibility to a driveway. Is that what you were getting at?
We don't believe that the accessibility to the driveway is going to be adversely affected. We are always weighing up all of the various pros and cons of each location. We have looked at others, but this one is the one that we think overall balances the needs of a good location for the school, a logical location for where the crossing will actually get well used, and it also does retain the tree as well.
To add to that through the chair is that we have run, or the team have run tracking for vehicles coming in and out of those driveways, and it it works fine with the access, with the crossing there.
Thank you. So according to our assessments, there should be no accessibility problem, but according to the ratepayer, they're saying that there is. Is that the conflict?
It sounds like a bit of a conflict there, but we've done all we can to try and, assure those people. Yeah.
Yeah, so through the design process, the team have taken everything they've heard into place and ended up with where we've ended up, and they are comfortable with the final outcome that we're proposing here.
Thank you. Moving on to the next part, which is traffic bylaw changes. So let's start at point 105 and let's run through till the end of 1:30. Oh. Yep, nope, 58 is included in there.
I've got a question, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
And thanks also for everyone for putting up with my horribly croaky voice and everything as we work through this. I am just interested to understand with the Brooklyn Road East Street crossing option, did we look at having a pedestrian refuge just a little bit further away from the intersection? And would that, by shifting it a little bit off from the intersection, would that address H3's concerns around accessibility? And I ask that because I'm intimately experienced in crossing at this area with a pram and children and all of that in tow. And I'm a little bit concerned that it still doesn't necessarily, make it a whole lot easier to cross. Yeah, and particularly when there's traffic coming in and out of, on the weekends, particularly when there's traffic coming in and out of Gate 4, I think it is, out of Claudelands, as well as traffic coming in and out of East Street and along Brooklyn Road, it can become quite a confusing mess to navigate right at that intersection. So, yeah, I'm interested in what was explored.
Yes, so they're all valid points, valid questions. So during large events held at H3, like Homegrown and I guess Blooms over Waikato at the time, their traffic management creates 3 lanes on Brooklyn Road heading north and sometimes south. So that really makes it very difficult for an island to be installed effectively anywhere along there. I think as well, it's worth noting that when we did pedestrian and cycle counts and saw where people were crossing, this was really sitting within the desire line because it's such a clear connection between East Street and the shared path that we've previously installed in 2024 along the side of Gate 3 into Claudelands Park.
Gate 3, yep.
Yeah. So that's why this is the preferred location, and an island would be incredibly difficult for H3 to work around.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, one other question, actually, Chair, if you can indulge me. It was, there was some concern, I think, raised around cyclists who are just travelling straight along Brooklyn Road. Is there still enough room for them to continue along without needing to mount the shared path?
Yes, there is. So the image shown in figure 17 shows the cycle lane continuing through.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions on the Brooklyn Road side. How many times on East Street, Brooklyn Road design has it been consulted, redesigned and changed to get to where we are, with East Street residents don't wanting it narrowed? And the second part of it, we've got Equifest coming, which is just about everything in a horse truck is the size of a B train, and there's thousands or hundreds and hundreds of them coming, and it's here for 3 years. This is potentially going to affect that ability to get in and out of from the East Street side, I think, a little bit. But as H3 have mentioned, how are we going to ensure that we make it easy for people to get into our events as well?
Through the chair, yeah, we're working very closely with H3 on this particular project, and also Peach Grove East Street as well. So they're heavily involved in that. We've had discussions with them last week about both projects. They believe what we're showing here for Brooklyn East Street works for them. We may need to just adjust curb lines slightly, but we're going to be running some tracking there, and also we're going to do some physical on-site testing with the B train and other large vehicles with H3, just to make sure we get it right.
Yeah, so through the chair, the team have been talking with H3 in the space. I've been having discussions with Sean Murray on these very issues, and we certainly don't want to compromise anything that H3 are doing. We want to do this with them in mind.
Yeah, thanks, but I just find it really difficult today to talk about Brooklyn Road, East Street, but not allowed to be talk East Street, Peach Grove Road, because it's one road and they tie together, and whatever you do at one end is going to affect the other. But we now got them as separate identities, and it's going to end up not conforming to each other. And yeah, that's it.
Is there any way that we can resolve Councillor Mead's concern about the disconnected nature of things that in a system-wide network impact quite closely on each other when one part has been removed to city delivery?
I suppose to try and reassure Councillor Mead is that if, say, Peach Grove East didn't go ahead, nothing happens there, you can still progress this one on its own, because it still has merits on its own about getting people safely across Brooklyn Road into Claudelands Park. So you can separate them out. And vice versa, if you decided not to do something here, you could still do something at Peach Grove East. They are separate projects, although they are in the vicinity of one another.
Thank you, I hear that, but I think the question being raised is not if we don't do something here, we can still look at the other piece, but what if we do something at both pieces that doesn't coordinate very well?
I think that's where we would give you some direction, you know, around your questioning, and make sure when we got to the detailed design, things were coordinated.
Thank you. Any other questions on that piece generally? I had a question. It related to some of the feedback about Brooklyn East. When I read through some of the feedback, residents didn't seem to be clear what the problem was. How can we have people that are living there and not be clear on what the problem is? We've heard other submitters who are very clear on the problem on the end of their street earlier this morning. How does this happen?
So, through the chair, this site's got a long history. I mean, before some of you were elected, but I know Councillor Thompson is very familiar with this site. We had, you know, going back I think 3 years, maybe more, a petition for a pedestrian crossing at this location. There was strong local support for a better facility at this location. not necessarily from the residents on the corner, but certainly the people that live in that East Street area, that they needed to feel safer when they were crossing Brooklyn Road, because a lot of them wanted to utilise the park and the wonderful playground that's in there and stuff like that. So that's probably where it started, and it's been on our books for a little while. It went through the SURF program but didn't survive that, and now here we are in the Minor Transport Improvements program.
Thank you. So we're addressing the needs that have been identified by people who use the area broadly, not specifically the people who live there.
Not specifically the people that live right on that corner area, correct.
Thank you. And another question I had was in relation to items 107, 108, 124, 125. So all of these are proposed changes, except for item number 7, which is the cycle lane Victoria Ulster. So just to clarify that, item number 107, that's already in and we're simply just updating the register, is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct, yep.
Thank you. And items number 108, 124, 125, those are proposed shared paths. We're not authorising any works, we're just authorising yellow paint on the road. Is that correct?
That's correct. You're authorising the restrictions that go into the bylaw. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from elected members? Councillor Mead.
Surprise. Item number 125, page 58, Kawika Karira Place and Eagle Way. We're putting a roundabout at the end of that road, which is yet to be built and done, but we're proposing to put cycle paths and widening of sections before the roundabout's there. Wouldn't we be better off waiting until the roundabout goes in before we build footpaths next to an empty section that may get developed and things change?
Good questions. Through the chair, in response to that, the developer developing the Pack and Save site, it's all part of that consent condition. They'll be doing all the work, the roundabout. Am I correct, Mrs. Denton? And the paths, the markings, all the stuff that we are approving today will be done by the developer of the site.
So that's right next door to it, isn't it? The Pack and Save building going right on that roundabout corner?
That's correct, Councillor Mead, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. It was actually one of our submitters today talked in detail about garden maintenance, and it's kind of doesn't fit neatly within here that we're speaking to Peach Grove and East Street. Is there a way that we could still somehow pick that up or not lose it?
That's a good point, Councillor Thompson. I understand that while we were discussing the technical layouts of the road, in their submission, they talked about gardens. So I would expect, and I look to our General Manager for this, I would expect that to be picked up in the report that comes through to us, not only as the verbal submissions that we heard today, but as a flavour of their actual written submission that reflected that as well.
So through Chair, absolutely we can cover that off, but just to be very clear, the work that is done on those berms is subcontracted through Connect Hamilton to our parks team. So, but we'll cover that off.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you. You've still got your hand up. Is that okay? No more questions.
Going back, the first question I asked on the end of East Street is how many times has that been consulted and redesigned? That was, I don't mind if you can come back to us sometime, but it seems like a heck of a lot of designs and changes and consultations.
We will come back to you with a figure on that, yes.
Thank you. So that takes us through to the end of that part of the report. Are there any questions on anything else that is part of this item in the later attachments? I have one question. On page number 64, there are a number of parking restriction changes in general. So some of those have been proposed, some of them are gazetted. Looking through the pictures that are provided, they make sense to me, but have those all been consulted with the appropriate people?
Yes, they have, yeah. Except for the ones that are already on site and haven't been gazetted. So they're just tying up the legal loose ends on that. But everything else that's new, consulted.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Mead.
I think you start sort of just about everything being in one place, so, yeah. Well, actually, here's a question. We've got 291 pages of minutes, and last night, I think it was about 4 hours in, you found stuff and everything. Is there a way we can get it all together? Just to say if we're going to do with B road, C road, D road. And it seems to be consistent with minutes across all bodies.
Yeah, I suppose the way we split it up is, there's different parts of the bylaw. There's the parking restrictions that have to be gazetted, and then you're changing schedules in the bylaw itself. So that's the way we split it up. We will certainly look at seeing how we can simplify that information for you, because I do realise that this is a big chunky report to actually go through, particularly at late in the evening or the day before. So we'll do what we can to sort that out.
Yeah, so through the chair, we'll be clear that we will take this away and have a look at it and see if we can simplify it. And that'll be a key action for us to have a look at. No guarantees though, they've been around for a while, and this has kind of evolved into what has been accepted as general best practice, but what we will do is have a look at it again. Yep.
I mean, sorry, through the chair, the only other thing we could do is, if we have to keep it as it is make references to that street, if it's mentioned 4 or 5 times through the report, where those other items lay as they come up in the report. So they're well referenced if need be.
Thank you. Councillor Moroney.
Thank you. It's really just in line with that particular discussion. I'll perhaps make a statement and then ask a question, if that's okay. I think I've understood what you've talked about in terms of the way that you put these reports together, but it is often a criticism, particularly from a governance perspective, of government and some local government processes, that they seem to operate in silos. And so the approach taken in this report runs that risk. From a governance perspective, I think the question is, can we look at all the changes proposed to a street and area in its entirety, because it helps us to see the whole picture? So that's really the question, and I guess the associated question is, what difficulty, if we took that approach, what difficulty would that pose from a staff perspective or a implementation perspective?
Yeah, so through the chair, we'll absolutely take that on board and work our way through that, and we'll bring back to you if there are any difficulties in that model. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to... Can I have a mover and a seconder for the items in item number 8 to be moved? I have proposed, based on feedback that I have received earlier, to look specifically at Masters as a separate motion, to look at Pine Ave as a separate motion, to make sure we've got the emergency approval in there explicitly, and those are the only 2 that I am planning to separate out. Was there any other items that anybody wanted to take as separate parts? No, okay, the rest of them will be taken as a bundle except for those ones that we will vote on separately. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mover, Councillor Mead, seconder, Councillor Bidder. Can I open for debate? The debate is on everything. Can we have, while you're getting started, the motions up on the board so you can see exactly what it's going to look like and perhaps shape your debate accordingly? We'll just get our motions on the board.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, very keen to see them on the board.
Are you putting it on the board?
So we'll put the separate ones on the board and everything that's not on the board will be exactly as is in there.
Pain? Oh, there we go, we're screen sharing, thank you. Can I see the one for St Pius and the addition?
So Masters Ave has been pulled out. This is you want to put those back in, right?
Those ones there are going into city delivery, so as I understand it, we don't need to deal with that.
This is the one for Pine Ave.
Authorised.
So that is the bylaw as well as the extra part about the Emergency New Zealand consultation.
Okay, thanks.
Perhaps you would like to move that one, Councillor Thompson.
Yep, I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Maroney?
Can we tidy up just noting that the design is to be consulted on with fire, emergency, etc.?
Consulted on.
Second line, the design is to be consulted on. And design is, sorry to be picky, I just want it to make sense.
I think it's to be consulted on. With.
So after design.
After design. To be consulted on with fire and emergency.
I think that's what she wants.
Is after design? Oh, yes.
Well, is.
Noting that the design is, just adding that in there, to be consulted on with fire and emergency. Thanks.
Please, right here. No. Here. That's
Right?
it. This needs to be moved there. Yeah. Thank you. So let's do our debate. Let's begin our debate. I would invite you to speak to all of those motions in one go.
Can I just ask that be enlarged on the screen? It's not possible to see from this distance across the room.
Point of clarification while you're doing that. Page 236 says item 8, and page 237 says it's item 7. So is this under this debate now, or is that the next one? This is the council report on infrastructure assets, general manager's report.
So there has been some adjustments to the numbering.
So this is separate to what we're debating now?
We are debating the traffic bylaws that we have just explored. So after that, we will look at confirmation of the minutes, we'll look at the chair's report, and we'll look at the GM's report.
Gotcha.
So we're just looking at the bylaws. Was there anyone who wanted to have the Brooklyn East separated out? Yes, okay. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bitter, Councillor Mead. Thank you. And is there anyone who needs to have Eagle Way, Karewa Place separated out? So the concern that I had earlier was that it was authorising works, but we've had that clarified that we're just authorising the bylaw. So I'm happy to have that included. Right, let's do that. Okay, let's open the debate. So if you have comments that you would like to contribute in relation to this agenda item as a whole, please speak now and then we will do the motions as we have discussed. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, that's anticipating me. Thanks for that. Look, I know how much work goes into what we've got in front of us, and I appreciate the staff who put all the time and work into it. It's not an easy job, and we've got regs that are all over the place. And of course, we've got a system that puts stuff in all sorts of places, and it makes it hard for both of us. I think the big thing that I want to talk about these is we've got to make sure, one, that we're spending wisely and getting good outcomes, and also listening to a lot of the ratepayers. So in some of these things, I'd like to see costs. You know, I've been banging on it now for probably 8 months since I got elected, and I'd still like to see genuine costs come or brought to the table so we can make good decisions, or even at the start, that we have some way of knowing where we're going to be. And that way we can get through stuff quicker, approve it or not approve it, and get to the end. But we seem to be going backwards and forwards between consultants and costs and money and all sorts of things, and somehow along the line we've got to make an easier decision. So for me, yeah, look, I'll support what's going on and the emotions and the amendments as we go through this, but still flagging that I want to see genuine costs on stuff that comes to council.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Are there any other comments to contribute to this before we make a vote? Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair. This has been a very confusing agenda to work through. So this is a bit disjointed, but looking at Pine Ave, yes, support the road safety for children, but as is often the case with these sorts of road projects, we have a problem. We've come up with a solution to that problem, but the solution creates its own problems and complications, which in this particular case are having a disproportionate impact on one resident at 58 Pine Ave, which makes me very uncomfortable. I don't see any better solution. Everything is a trade-off. So I support it with considerable discomfort. The Brooklyn Road East Street intersection, I'm siding with Bike Waikato and some of the residents on this, where to me it's a solution looking for a problem. The original problem was people wanting a pedestrian crossing across Brooklyn Road. That was creating difficulties. The solutions to those difficulties was not to do the pedestrian crossing, but to come up with solving other issues. So we've sort of lost the original intention of it. And while it makes some improvements, I don't see it as a priority. I'd rather put money towards other things. So I don't support that particular project.
Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I also do want to thank the team for all of the work that's gone into this. There's obviously a huge amount of work that goes into contacting and working with residents on changes and responding to concerns. I wanted to just note, in terms of St Pius School, I think it's really important that we always close the loop in terms of any feedback from emergency services, so that we can always move forward with full confidence that they're comfortable with the detailed designs if initial concerns have been raised. So thank you, Chair, for accommodating those changes in the motion. And also, in terms of Brooklyn Road, yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one. I will support it, as having previously been a resident of the area, I know there was a lot of advocacy from locals for improvements to crossing there. And East Street itself, even just walking along the road and crossing it to walk straight along Brooklyn can feel quite unsafe because of how wide it is. I always used to go quite far down and then cross in someone's driveway to avoid fast-moving cars turning around that corner quickly. So, yeah, I would have loved to have seen something more like a pedestrian refuge island in there to further enhance crossing in this location, but I understand the limitations we're working with. So I do, yeah, there are problems that do need solving, and I think safe access to key destination parks is important. So yeah, it's obviously not as ideal in terms of a crossing design as we would have liked, but accepting those limitations, I'll support it.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I have,
Clarification. So I'm wanting to separate out the Brooklyn Road East Street intersection. Did I end up moving to go ahead with that design, or because I'm wanting to vote against it?
okay, so you want it to be separated out?
Yeah, I wanted it to be separated out.
Oh, but you put the motion?
Yep. So
just by putting your name to the motion doesn't mean you have to vote for the motion. It's just getting it on the floor to be able to debate it.
Yep. Right.
Thank you. Good clarification. I have a few comments to make about item number 7 generally. I've dealt with the specifics through the questions, but as I reflected on reading through it and thinking about it, I've noticed that as a committee we've become focused not just on what we're being asked to approve, but whether we're being given enough information to make those decisions confidently. I think that it's consistent to look at what the decision is, why it is, what problem it's trying to solve, and what are the costs associated with that. And I think that's consistent with the direction that the council will set through the Mayor's plan. That plan asks us to scrutinise projects, to deliver fit-for-purpose infrastructure and ensure value for money. So our role isn't just to approve changes to the network, but it's also to satisfy ourselves, because we put our name to it, that the decisions we make are well supported. Across this report, there are proposals that range from administrative updates to existing registers through to approvals. It's been said it's a bit of a mixed bag. The word confusion has been raised in relation to reconciling the agenda. I've heard the reasons for this and I understand it, but I do think it's important that elected members are always clear about what it is that we're voting on, and I look forward to seeing some of the changes that have been discussed earlier today. So for me, it's not about creating unnecessary processes, but it is about making well-informed governance decisions. I think that's an expectation both of the subcommittee and of the Mayor's plan. So thank you very much. Let's move to the motions. We will start with which Which one?
Start with the main one, the big one. Which,
Can we start with the smaller one so that people know exactly what is not included in the big one? So we're going to separate out some of the motions that we discussed, and anything that is not voted on separately will be included in the big batch. So the first one is in relation to Masters Ave, which is to rescind the no stopping and install the no stopping. Can I just ask a question about this? So today we talked about taking out a car park. Is that part of this motion?
Stopping, but putting it back 5 metres longer, which is one car park.
Oh, I see. Got it. Thank you. Right. Do we have anybody who will, so we've got Councillor Thompson who is going to put this motion. Councillor Moroney. Right. Can I please have those in favour of this motion indicate? Any opposed?
the motion was carried, noting Councillor McDonald dissenting.
Thank you. Moving along to the next motion, which is in relation to Pine Ave. We have the motion put by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Moroney. All those in favour, please indicate.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. And the next motion is Brooklyn Road, Brooklyn East. Can I please have a show of hands, those who support this motion? And those opposed?
The motion was lost, noting 3 against, 2 in favour.
Thank you. Okay, moving to the substantive motion, which covers everything else in the report. That's okay. We're not going to show it on the screen. You can see everything else in your report. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Okay, thank you. Can I please have those in favour indicate?
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. That brings us to the end of that. Yeah. Let's move on to item number 6, which is the confirmation of the minutes from our last meeting. Can I please have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Bidder, Councillor Mead, thank you. All those in favour say, give us a show of hands. We are confirming the minutes from the last transport.
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, moving now to the Chair's report. I have a few comments to make. Do I move it first? Okay. I'll move that my Chair's report be accepted, adopted. Do I have any seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Bidder. Right, so are there any questions in relation to the Chair's report? Looks like there are none. Let's move to comments. Councillor Moroney.
First of all, thank you, Chair, for your report. And I think it adequately and appropriately describes the journey of this subcommittee. And I want to thank you for the way in which you have made sure that it's an inclusive process. on the Transport Subcommittee, and that you have adequately represented, not more than adequately represented, I think the concerns that all of the elected members have shared from time to time about the difficulty of moving through this level of detail in the way that we do. So I do look forward to having a process going forward where we can have agendas that are easier from a governance perspective, because I do understand that many of these items are operational, but as governors, we're here to oversee that. And it's incredibly important that we feel confident in the information that we have and the way that it's presented to us, so that we can make the right decisions. So in conclusion, just really want to thank you, Chair MacDonald, for your chairing of this committee and for helping us to explore those issues. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Moroney. Councillor Bitter.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair, for having done a very good job on the Transport Committee as we've moved through this year. It is an important and extremely difficult role. Transport, when we're altering existing roads, is very difficult because those roads were designed by engineers to solve particular problems at the time. Things evolve, the problems change, and the solutions are often fixed by property boundaries and other factors which are very difficult to resolve. And often solving one problem is simply trading off the problem to somebody else. And I don't like the idea of spending money making somebody else's life worse. So these are contentious. There is often no ideal solution achievable, and the slight improvements are expensive. And we are all road users, so we all do have our experience and views on this, just as traffic engineers do, and we do represent the public who use these roads, so our views are important, the detail is important, and often the system isn't well set up for us to be involved in the detail, but we do need to do that, and going forward we need some way of doing that, and I'm not sure what that way is at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bitter. Councillor Thompson.
Sorry, yeah, I just also wanted to thank you for your Chair's report, Chair Mesh, and for the considerable work you've put into leading this committee and guiding us through decisions, organising for questions to be answered and concerns to be dealt with ahead of meetings and all of those good things. So just thank you for all of your excellent work in chairing the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I appreciate all of the comments so far. Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to thank you for your passion and your probably at times optics advice. I think we have the same, every councillor does, that every dollar we spend is a dollar of our own, and I think that's come through. Transport's probably the most visible thing that our residents and ratepayers see due to cars, bikes, push bikes and everything else, so it's probably the most volatile, the most talked about and the most challenged thing in council, which doesn't make it any easier for elected members or staff, because it's a real battle to get to where we need to get to. But for me, I think it's evolving towards where we need it to be, that we start looking at designs and costs and a whole lot of things early on, so we don't end up slowing the process down at the end. I got to thank the staff for putting up with all the zillion questions, and there's probably a zillion more, and apart from that, I think what we've achieved is pretty good. And there could be, and is a long way to go in what we want to achieve, but thanks for your attention to detail and the late night phone calls and the discussions. I think it was 11:15 we finished last night discussing stuff, so yeah, thanks for your time and what you've done.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Transport for me is one of those things that affects people across the city, whether you are biking or walking or pushing a pram or driving, it affects everybody. And it has been thoroughly appreciated to hear the different perspectives feed in, because there are trade-offs to be made, as Councillor Bidder referred to, and we've heard in staff advice that every choice that we make in one direction takes us a foot further from a different direction. So it's about weighing up the different parts of that. As I look over the work of the subcommittee, we consider transport bylaws. That's the role of this committee. But I think we do that in the context of the broader direction that council has set in terms of other committees, other priorities. This doesn't sit in isolation. It sits within this whole system. And so while we're looking at projects individually, we run the context of everything else that we know is going on. So the expectations of decisions, comments, questions, challenges that are raised here don't just sit separately in transport. They're part of how we're expected to approach transport governance. We've asked questions like, are we solving the right problem? Is this the best way to solve it? Is there actually a problem that requires intervention? Are we getting good value for money? Have the options properly been tested? Have we consulted? Have we learned from completed projects to make future decisions better? Now, I'm a details person, and there was a lot of details in these reports, so I also want to acknowledge the work that sits behind that. Conversations in here aren't always easy. It's great to have different perspectives feeding into a robust conversation, but I think they've been constructive, and I appreciate the willingness of elected members and staff to engage with them, because good governance isn't just about getting agreement, it's about getting better decisions. So on that, we have a mover and a seconder for my chair's report. Can I please have a show of hands of those who support acceptance of it? Thank you.
Motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, which is the Infrastructure and Assets General Manager's report. The report will be taken as read, so I will open it up for questions. Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Chair. A few questions as we go through. Barton Street, is that completely off the table now? I'm changing to 20 Ks and the angle parking, or is it still in discussions, given the fact we can't change the speed?
The speed limit's completely off the table. There's nothing we can legally do with the current the rule. The resolution from the committee previously was for the Barton Street angle parking to be included in the Central City parking review, so that's still ongoing.
Second question I have is regarding point 22, parking restrictions road marking went out for a request for quote on the 30th of July. Did that request for quote involve the two companies I originally brought to the council on the costings that were quite different to what we had?
So, yeah, through Chair, I'll ask Kirsty to answer this one, and there's an update on that process as well. So Kirsty can update you on that.
So just to be clear, the procurement document is still being reviewed by procurement. However, we are going out to 4 companies, so the 2 that you have requested and 2 others.
So through Chair, just at the time of writing this report, we were intending to put it out, but we've been working with procurement, the procurement team, And there's a few questions in there we're working our way through. So, thank you.
Okay.
The answer's yes.
Hey?
The answer's yes at the moment.
Yeah, it's yes at the moment. Third one, I've got, that's right, doesn't matter, I'll bring it later.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I have a few questions. Thank you for the review of Cambridge Road and how that's functioning. Reviews carry cost. Any idea how much the review of Cambridge Road cost?
Through the chair, so it's a combination of actually writing up the report plus all the survey and things which we need to do. So it's not just the report, it's a whole heap of other work which gets done in the background. So I don't have the exact number on me, but I think we were looking at about 15 grand for this. Thank you.
So through the chair, just to add to that, that's part of the report. We will be doing something separate to the chairs of this committee, of the City Delivery Committee and the Procurement Subcommittee around the costings of this. And that would be something that in the future, we might have that all combined, but we had this system set up that we would report back, and that meeting's on the 18th of August. So there's a cost to that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Something that I really valued in the report was outlining the lessons learned. Can you talk us through how we've learned all of these good things? How is that learning going to be embedded in organisational practice? Is there a formal process? Is there a place that we're going to capture it?
Some of it gets incorporated into systems and processes. So we've got people like Matt Leach at the back with the customer engagement side of things, and we involve the comms team a lot as well. When it comes to the width of separated cycling and some of those other things, they will be fed through to the next designs as and when they come up. Some of the stuff like takes time to settle, that is something that we knew anyway, and that was something that we had, I guess, conveyed to elected members right from the start. So it's a mixture.
Thank you. So if we were reviewing this project again in 12 months' time, we are confident that the same lessons that we've learned, we won't be needing to learn again?
I'll answer this one, so yes. Yeah.
Thank you. And the review on Cambridge Road arose because a question was asked. Is that normally part of a process? Do we normally have a review built in, or was this specifically in response to a question?
This is a larger review than what we would normally have done. There are post-construction reviews that we do. So we have a post-construction safety audit, for example, where we have new traffic signals going. We always have the team keeping an eye on things for the first week or two, just to see how things are settling down and making sure, picking up if there's anything happening. And we're always trying to keep an eye out for any customer feedback and those sorts of things. So those sorts of things would normally be in place, yes.
Yeah, so through you, just to add to that, it's a process we've had in place to probably a lesser extent, to be honest, and it is something that we've committed to doing on our larger projects, is coming back through committee to review that, because we've had lots of conversations in and around our benefits, and this is a way to actually make sure that we do monitor our benefits and what we're wanting to achieve, that we're actually achieving those, and you'll see part of this is we're doing some more work and coming back in another 12 months to do some more monitoring.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, this is a larger review than normal, and that has fed back into elected members. Are the smaller ones usually fed back? Just thinking in terms of the team captures the learnings, the team does the review. How can we close that loop so that elected members can understand how projects landed as well.
Yeah, so through the chair, there's probably something that we'd probably take away and have a look at and do possibly executive updates for the smaller ones as a collective.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions about the deep dive in procurement. So I was a big supporter of that, and what I'm interested in is how do we know that the review that's being undertaken is actually going to strengthen procurement? Do we expect to see parts of that reported through here, or will that go through procurement? Because not all committee memberships overlap.
No, so through the chair, what we're doing is we're taking a step process. So Gary, the CFO, and myself, I've taken this through the chairs and the deputy chairs of those two and the third committee with Councillor Rachel involved as well. We will decide from there where is the best place for that deep dive to go to the wider elected members.
Thank you. And one last question about the deep dive is that review challenging assumptions about how we've traditionally procured infrastructure, or is it primarily confirming that existing processes are working well?
Through the chair, that deep dive was to look at the process that we've currently run and compare the rates in particular to make sure that we're getting good value for money.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Moroney.
I have one, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate question for this part of the agenda, but I'll give it a go. The Carrow Street improvements that were approved through this committee, perhaps the meeting before last, is there an update on what the progress is like for Carrow Street?
So the work was going to start in the next couple of weeks. We've had an event. We've been alerted to an event that's happening in that general area, so that work's been pushed back a little so that the event can happen without any roadworks in place, and then the Three Waters team will be, EOY, I need to get myself back. EOY will be going in first to putting in some new water, and yes, there should be an exec update probably coming out today, I think, which gives that updated timeline.
Oh, great, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so through the chair, the message was heard from that subcommittee, and probably, I think it was that afternoon, we had a meeting there with EOY and others. Blair was in there, myself, and key staff members, and we worked our way through that. So.
Thank you. Can I have a mover that we accept the General Manager's report? Thank you, Councillor Moroney. And a seconder? I'll second that. Thank you. And I would like to open for debate. Thank you. Are there any comments to contribute? Thank you, Councillor Moroney.
Thank you to the General Manager and associated staff for the report. Particularly pleased to see that there has been their follow-up on Cambridge Road, and as Chair McDonald mentioned when she was asking questions, really important to see the lessons learned part of your report, and want to support the Chair's insistence on that we take those going forward into all other projects, because these are opportunities for learning that we should make sure continue through our future planning. There are a number of things there that I can see would easily be appropriate to consider in other similar projects, and so it's very good to see that review being done, being reported back to us, and the lessons learned to be captured going forward. Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Moroney. Councillor Mead.
Sarah's got one as well. I think she's got a hand up. Go, Sarah.
It's up to the Chair.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Sorry for the bugs. Just want to say the review that's taken place, as Sue said, is good. It highlights some good things. It highlights some things that could be done better, and I think that's a really cool step going forward, because nothing's ever perfect, and we can make things better just by looking and getting to the end of it. So thanks for the persistence of the staff and Mesh and staff for making sure that happened. Probably, I'll vote for this, but I'm probably a bit disappointed that something didn't change about the lines going out. 11 days since it was supposed to have gone out. I would rather known before today than after today, but is what it is. But it's about a communication thing, but yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I have a couple of things to contribute before we wrap up. Just touching on the items that I raised in my questions and comments that Councillor Moroney made about the organisational learning. I think that's really, really important, because it's easy to move from project to project to project, and closing that loop allows us to take the things we learned that have been done really well and embed those going forward, and take the things that we've learned that maybe didn't work so well and not do more of those going forward. I think that's putting us into the right direction of continuous improvement, and capturing that learning is a key part of that, so we don't have to keep relearning the same lessons over again. And the second point is in relation to the procurement deep dive, simply because the infrastructure and the spending that occurs as a result of transport infrastructure or minor improvements budget is massive when you look at it as a proportion of broader council spend. So I support the work that is going on in that space to make sure that the prices that we currently use, that the processes that we follow to get those prices are yielding the best value, because as we move forward, resources are only going to become more finite and they're only going to become more constrained. So if we can get those processes optimised, then we can achieve more outcomes for our community. Thank you very much. So last thing to do is to accept the GM's report. Can I please have a show of hands? Those who support that. Thank you.
The motion was carried unanimously.
And that brings us to the end of transport. Can we please have our closing karakia up? Thank you to everybody who has spent time with us this morning, and those who have contributed. We'll start with our karakia, and that will be us. Tēnei te whakairi, tēnei te whakawātea, haumia, huia, tae kie. Thank you, everybody.